Hey garden homes enthusiasts! Is your front yard screaming for a glow-up but feeling more like a snooze fest? You know that spot. The dull patch of grass, the lackluster flower bed, or that tired walkway that's just begging for personality. It's draining your curb appeal, and you're dreaming of a fix that doesn't break the bank. Well, buckle up, because we're about to unleash the magic of stone. In this video we're diving into 10 jaw-dropping DIY stone art projects that'll transform your yard from meh to magnificent with simple, sustainable, and stunning techniques. From dazzling pebble mosaics that dance in the sunlight, to bold stone sculptures that steal the show, we're empowering you to become the artist of your own outdoor masterpiece. Ready to make your neighbors jealous? Let's roll one gorgeous stone at a time. Love these ideas? Don't miss a single spark of inspiration. Subscribe to Garden Homes and hit that bell to join our community of creative yard transformers. Let's keep crafting stunning spaces together. Project 1. Pebble Mosaic Stepping Stones. Our first project is the perfect way to dip your toes into the world of stone art. It's easy on the wallet, so satisfying to make, and it solves a common problem: those boring, plain concrete pavers or worn-out patches in the lawn. We're going to create custom pebble mosaic stepping stones that are not just functional, but add a personal artistic touch to any garden path. First up, let's talk materials. You really don't need much. You'll want some basic ready mixed mortar, some smooth, relatively flat pebbles, and a mold. For the pebbles, you can grab a bag of river rocks from a garden center, or even better, go on a little treasure hunt at a local beach or riverbed. Just make sure to check if it's allowed in your area. Sorting them by color gives you a palette to create some amazing patterns. For the mold, you can use something as simple as a plastic plant saucer or build a basic square frame out of wood. You'll also need some water, a trowel, and a good pair of gloves. The process is way simpler than you'd think. If you want to get creative, you can practice your design first by laying it out in a tray of sand. This lets you play around with your pattern without the pressure of the mortar drying. You could try a spiral, a sunburst, a leaf, or just a beautiful abstract design. When you're ready, it's time to mix the mortar. Just follow the directions on the bag, aiming for a consistency like thick cake batter. If it's too wet, your pebbles will sink and slide around. Spread a smooth, even layer of mortar in your mold, about an inch or two deep. A great tip for stones that will get a lot of foot traffic is to add a piece of steel mesh in the middle for extra strength. Now for the best part, get your pebbles a little wet, as this helps the mortar grab onto them. Carefully press your pebbles on their edge into the mortar. This makes them much stronger. You want to embed them about halfway deep. If you're making a pattern, start from the middle and work your way out. Pack them in nice and tight so you see more stone than mortar. Once your design is done, you can lay a piece of plywood on top and press down gently to make sure the surface of the stones is nice and even. Let it cure overnight, and the next day you can carefully pop your masterpiece out of its mold. To install it, just place it where you want it in the yard, trace around it with a spade, lift out the circle of grass, and set your new custom stepping stone right in its place. Just like that, you've turned a boring spot into a work of art. Project 2. Stone Garden Edging. Next up is one of the fastest ways to make your whole front yard look cleaner and more put together: stone garden edging. This project fixes that messy look of undefined flower beds, where mulch spills onto the grass and the lawn creeps into your plant. A stone border creates a crisp, clean line that makes everything look professionally cared for. This is another project that's perfect for beginners, and you can easily get it done in an afternoon. For materials, you'll need your stones of choice: a shovel, a rubber mallet, and some leveling sand. You can use almost any kind of stone here. Flat, stackable flagstones give you a neat, tidy look, while rounded river rocks will create a more natural cottage garden vibe. The first and most important step is to mark out your design. A garden hose or a rope is perfect for creating a beautiful sweeping curve, or you can use stakes and string for a dead straight line. Once you have a shape you love, it's time to dig. Using your shovel, dig a shallow trench along your line, about 2 to 3 inches deep, and just wide enough for your stones. The biggest tip here is to make the bottom of the trench as level as you can. This is the foundation for your edge, and getting it right now will save you from wobbly, uneven stones later. Once your trench is ready, add about an inch of leveling sand. The sand gives you a stable base and makes it so much easier to adjust the height of each. Tamp the sand down nice and firm. Now you can start placing your stones in the trench, fitting them snugly together. Use a level as you go. If a stone is sitting too high, give it a gentle tap with your rubber mallet. If it's too low, just lift it up and add a bit more sand underneath. The goal is a nice consistent height, all the way along the border. When all the stones are in, just backfill with the soil you dug out, packing it tightly against the front and back of the stones to lock them in place. The result is a beautifully defined garden bed that looks intentional and high-end. It's a simple change, but the impact it has on your curb appeal is huge. It keeps your garden and your lawn right where they belong, creating a wonderful sense of order. Project 3. Stacked Stone Cairns. If you've got a corner in your garden that feels a little empty, or you want to add a cool sculptural element without breaking the bank, our third project is for you, creating stacked stone cairns. These are basically little balanced towers of stone that people have used for centuries as landmarks in meditative art. They add a touch of peace and some vertical interest to any space. This might be the easiest project on our list when it comes to tools, but it does take a bit of patience and a good eye for balance. The only thing you need is a collection of stones. The best stones for stacking are pretty flat on the top and bottom. River stones work perfectly for You'll want a variety of sizes, from a large stable stone for the base to smaller ones for the top. The process is more of an art than a science. First, find a good spot. Cairns look amazing nestled among low-growing plants, at the corner of a path, or as a centerpiece in a small rock garden. Choose your largest, flattest stone for the base. It needs to be super stable, so give it a little wiggle to make sure it doesn't rock. Now just start stacking. Pick your next stone and try to feel its center of gravity as you place it on the base. You'll feel it sort of lock into place. It's all about finding those little bumps and dips on the surface of the stones that let them nestle into each other. Keep building your tower, usually going from bigger stones at the bottom to smaller ones at the top. Don't be afraid to try a stone and then take it off if it doesn't feel right. Turn it, flip it over. Every stone has a sweet spot. The beauty of a cairn is that it looks so fragile, but a well-built one is surprisingly stable, held together by nothing but gravity. You can make a single tall cairn for a dramatic statement, or group a few smaller ones of different heights together for a more dynamic look. They bring a minimalist, natural art form into your landscape and act as a wonderful focal point. They draw your eye, add a sense of calm, and prove you don't need anything complicated to make a big impact. Project 4. A simple rock garden. Got a patch in your yard where grass just refuses to grow, or a sloped area that's a pain to mow? Project number 4 is the perfect fix, creating a simple, low-maintenance rock garden. Rock gardens are amazing for turning problem areas into beautiful features. They need very little water once they're established and look great all year round. For this project, you'll need a mix of rocks, some landscape fabric, and your choice of drought-tolerant plants. When it comes to rocks, variety is key. A few large, dramatic boulders can act as anchors for the whole design. Then use medium-sized rocks to build up certain areas and finish it all off with a top layer of smaller gravel or pebbles, which will act as a mulch. For plants, things like succulents, ornamental grasses, and dwarf conifers are perfect because they love rocky, well-drained soil. First, clear the area of all weeds, grass, and any other debris. This is your blank canvas. If the area is flat, you can make it more interesting by building up little hills or berms with some extra garden soil. This will give your rock garden different heights and a more natural feel. Next, lay down your landscape fabric. This step is a game changer for preventing weeds. Cut X-shaped slits where you plan to put your plants, but otherwise cover the whole area. Now it's time to place your big feature stones. Start with your largest boulder. Dig them into the ground a little bit so they look like they've been there forever, instead of just sitting on top. Try to arrange them in natural-looking groups, not in straight lines. Think about how rocks look in nature. They're often clustered in odd numbers like 3s or 5. Once your anchor stones are set, you can add your plants. Place them in the slits you cut in the landscape fabric, arranging them in flowing groups. Think about how big the plants will get, and give them enough room to grow. Finally, it's time for the top layer of smaller rocks or gravel. This is your decorative mulch. It keeps weeds down and helps the soil hold on to moisture. Use a bucket to pour the gravel around your plants, and larger rocks, and then a rake to spread it out evenly. Using different sizes of rock creates a lot of depth and makes it look much more natural. A rock garden can completely transform a neglected space into a sophisticated, modern landscape feature. It solves practical problems and adds incredible texture, color, and shape to your curb appeal. Alright, we're halfway through our list, and I hope your head is already buzzing with ideas for your own yard. If you're getting some value from this and you're feeling inspired to get your hands dirty, do me a quick favor and hit that like button below. It really helps the channel grow, and reach more people who want to create a home they love. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming up next. Okay, let's get back to it and check out some even bigger high-impact stone project. Project 5, a dry stacked stone wall. Now we're getting into slightly more ambitious territory with project number 5, building a low, dry stacked stone wall. This is perfect for making raised garden beds, holding back a gentle slope, or creating a beautiful stately border for your property. A stone wall adds a sense of permanence and history that you just can't get with anything else. And while it takes more work, a dry stacked wall, which uses no mortar, is a totally doable DIY project. The most important thing here is getting the right kind of stone. You're looking for flat, angular stones, often sold as wall stone or field stone. Rounded river rocks won't work for this because they just won't lock together. You'll also need a shovel, a hand tamper, some stakes and string, a level, and plenty of gravel for your foundation. Planning is everything with a wall. First, lay out its path with your stakes and string. For a wall to be stable, it needs a solid foundation. Dig a trench about 6 inches deep and a little wider than your planned wall. Fill this trench with a few inches of gravel and use a hand tamper to pack it down really well. This creates a firm, level base that also allows for drainage. Now you can start the first course or layer of your wall. Pick out your largest, flattest stones for this base layer, setting them firmly into the gravel. Wiggle each one until it feels solid. The key to a strong wall is to think of it like a puzzle. You want to fit the stones as tightly together as you can. As you start the second course, remember the 2 golden rules of dry stacking. First, always stagger your joints. Never place a joint directly on top of one from the layer below it. Always bridge that gap with a stone on the next level up. Second, every few feet you need to place a tie stone. This is a long stone that runs from the front of the wall to the back, basically tying the 2 sides together and making it incredibly stable. As you build up, you should also batter the wall, which just means you angle it back slightly into the hill or soil it's holding back. A good rule of thumb is to lean it back about 1 inch for every foot of height. This uses gravity to your advantage and makes the wall super strong. As you finish each course, backfill behind it with soil and small bits of stone, packing it down tightly. The final course is the capstone layer. Here you'll want to use your flattest, best-looking stones to create a nice smooth top. Building a stone wall is hard work, there's no doubt about it, but the payoff is incredible. It adds structure, elegance, and a timeless quality to your landscape that will last for generations. Project 6, a stone fire pit. For our 6th project, we're creating something that's not just about looks, but about creating a place where people can gather. A stone fire pit, a well-built fire pit, becomes the heart of your backyard. A spot for family and friends to hang out. And while you can buy kits, building your own with stone lets you customize the size and style to perfectly match your yard. Safety is your #1 priority with this project. Before you start, check your local town or city codes for fire pits, because there are often rules about how big they can be and where you can put them. A fire pit needs to be at least 10 feet away from anything that can burn, like your house, a deck, or low-hanging tree. For materials, you'll need wall stones or concrete blocks for the structure, a metal fire pit ring, and some heat-resistant construction adhesive. The metal ring is not optional. It's what protects the stones from the intense heat, which can cause them to crack or even explode, especially if they have moisture trapped inside. Don't use random rocks from your yard unless you know for sure they are dense and not porous, like granite. Start by clearing a level spot for your pit. Place your metal ring where you want the center to be. Then arrange your first layer of stones in a circle around the ring, leaving about 1 inch of space between the stones and the metal. This gap is important for air circulation. Once you like the size and shape of your first circle, take the stones away for a moment and dig a shallow trench for this first layer, just like we did for the garden edging. A stable, level base is everything. Now, start laying your stone. Once the first course is perfectly level, you can start stacking the next layers. For extra stability, run a bead of heat-resistant construction adhesive between each layer. Keep stacking the stones, staggering the joints with each course, until your fire pit is the height you want, usually between 12 and 18 inches tall. Once the adhesive has had time to cure, your fire pit is ready to go. You're left with a beautiful rustic feature that adds incredible value and function to your yard. It's a project that pays you back with every marshmallow you roast, and every evening you spend enjoying the warmth with people you love. Project 7. a bubbling rock fountain. Let's bring the element of sound into our landscape. Project number 7 is a simple self-contained bubbling rock fountain. The gentle sound of trickling water can turn your front yard into a peaceful oasis, masking traffic noise and creating a serene vibe. This project looks fancy, but it's surprisingly easy to manage and has a huge impact. To build this, you'll need a large, interesting-looking rock, a submersible water pump, a waterproof basin or tub, some plastic tubing, and enough smaller pebbles or river rocks to hide the basin. The main rock is the star of the show. You can often find pre-drilled stones at landscape supply yards, or you can drill one yourself with a rented rotary hammer and a long masonry bit. First, pick your spot. Near an entryway or on a patio are great choices. You'll need to be near an outdoor electrical outlet to power the pump. Dig a hole deep enough to bury your waterproof basin so the rim is level with the ground. Put the pump in the center of the basin. Now, you'll need to build a sturdy little platform for your big rock to sit on. Concrete blocks or bricks work perfect. Arrange them in the basin around the pump, making sure they're stable enough to hold the weight of your rock. Next, run the plastic tubing from the pump up to where your rock will sit. Place your drilled rock on top of the support blocks, feeding the tubing up through the hole you drill. The tubing should come up to just below the top of the hole. To hide all the mechanics, place a sturdy metal or plastic mesh over the top of the basin, cutting a small hole for the tubing. Now, you can cover the mesh with your decorative river rocks, arranging them around the base of your main fountain stone. This lets the water trickle down, pass through the rocks and mesh, and get back to the reservoir below to be pumped up again. Finally, fill the basin with water, plug in your pump and watch your creation come to life. Water will bubble out the top of the stone, cascade down the sides, and disappear back into the hidden reservoir. The effect is mesmerizing, and it adds a high-end design element to your yard that is both beautiful and incredibly soothing to listen to. Project 8, a full pebble mosaic path. If you loved making the stepping stones from our first project and you're ready for a bigger challenge, Project 8 is for you, a full pebble mosaic pathway. This takes that idea to the next level, turning a simple walkway into a stunning piece of art. It's definitely a labor of love, but the result is a one-of-a-kind feature that people will be talking about for years. This project uses the same basic materials as the stepping stones, pebbles, mortar, and water, but on a much bigger scale. You'll also need something to create a form for the path, like flexible plastic lawn edging for curves or 2x4s for straight sections. Preparation is the most important part here. You need to dig out the entire area of your path, to a depth of about 4. Lay out your forms to create the shape you want. Then fill the bottom of this trench with a 2-3-inch layer of compacted gravel. This provides a stable, well-draining base for your masterpiece. Now, just like with the stepping stones, you can plan your design. You can sketch it out on paper or even in a large sandbox. Think about flowing organic shapes, cool geometric patterns, or even pictures. Sorting your pebbles by color and size ahead of time is an absolute must for a project of this size. You'll want to work in small, manageable sections. Mix up enough mortar for about a square yard at a time, and spread it evenly over the gravel base. Now, start pressing your pebbles into the mortar, following your design. This process is slow and takes focus. Keep a bucket of water nearby to keep the pebbles wet and to rinse your hand. As you finish a section, you can use a whisk broom to gently sweep away any extra mortar from the surface of the stones, making sure your pattern is clean and crisp. Let each section set up a little before you move to the next, blending the transition seamlessly. This is not a weekend project. A full pathway can take a lot of time, depending on how big it is and how complex your design is. But the hard work really pays. A pebble mosaic path is more than just a way to get to your front door. It's a durable, permanent art installation that infuses your landscape with personality and breathtaking beauty. Project 9. Stone and succulent planters. Our 9th project is a fantastic way to combine the hard texture of stone with the soft beauty of plants. We're going to create stone and succulent arrangements. This can be as simple as tucking hardy succulents into the cracks of a rock wall, or as unique as hollowing out a large soft stone to use as a planter. This idea is perfect for adding a pop of life to rock gardens or modern landscapes. There are a few ways to do this. The easiest method is to strategically place succulents within a rock garden or along a stone border you already have. Look for natural pockets and crevices between your rocks. Fill these little gaps with some cactus or succulent potting mix, which is designed for fast drainage. Then gently plant your succulents. Things like hens and chicks and sedums are perfect for this, as they'll spill over the rocks and soften their hard edges. For a more ambitious project, you can create a dedicated planter from one large stone. You'll need a softer type of rock, like sandstone or tufa, which is porous and pretty easy to carve. Using a hammer and chisel and wearing safety glasses, you can carefully hollow out a depression in the middle of the rock. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, a rough, natural look is even better. Once you have a bowl-like shape, drill a few small drainage holes through the bottom of the rock. This is super important, as succulents will rot if their roots sit in water. Fill your new stone planter with cactus mix, and arrange a variety of succulents inside. The combination of the rugged stone and the geometric shapes of the succulents is just stunning. You can also create a stacked planter. By carefully stacking several large, flat stones, you can leave intentional gaps and ledges between the layers. Just fill these gaps with soil and plant them with trailing succulents. This creates a beautiful living pyramid. This project is all about the contrast of texture. The rugged, permanent feel of the stone against the delicate, yet tough, nature of the succulents is so beautiful. It's a low-maintenance, high-impact way to show that your stone art can be a living, breathing part of your garden. Project 10. A stone archway. Our final project is the most ambitious. A true statement piece for anyone who wants to create something truly magical, a small stone archway. An arch can be a dramatic entrance to a garden path, frame a beautiful view, or simply stand on its own as a powerful sculpture. Building a stable, freestanding arch is an advanced project that combines dry stacking with a bit of physics, but the result is absolutely incredible. This isn't a project to take lightly, and it needs careful planning. You will need a lot of flattish, rectangular building stones, similar to what you'd use for a wall. You'll also need to build a temporary wooden form, called a centering, to support the arch as you build. First, you need to build 2 sturdy pillars to serve as the base of your arch. You build these using the same dry stacking techniques we used for the wall: a solid foundation, staggered joints, and tie stones for stability. Build both pillars up to the point where the arch will start to curve. Next, you build the wooden form. This is usually a semicircular shape made from plywood and 2x4s, and it has to be strong enough to hold the weight of all the arch stones, which are called voussoirs. Place this form securely on top of your 2 pillars. Now, you begin laying the arch stones, working from both sides at the same time, and meeting in the middle. Each stone should be placed on the wooden form, angled slightly inwards. They should be fitted as tightly as possible, using small shims or chips of stone to fill any tiny gap. The final and most important stone is the keystone. This is the wedge-shaped stone that goes right at the very top center of the arch. This stone is what locks all the others into place and transfers the weight of the arch down into the pillars. The keystone has to fit very snugly. Gently tapping it into place is a moment of pure magic. Once the keystone is set, the arch is structurally complete. You can carefully remove the wooden support, and if you built it correctly, the arch will stand on its own, held together by the simple, powerful forces of compression and gravity. A stone arch is the ultimate expression of stone art in the garden. It connects your landscape to centuries of history and craftsmanship. It's a challenging, rewarding project that creates a feature of enduring beauty and a true legacy in your own front yard. So there you have it, 10 DIY stone art projects to take your front yard from bland to beautiful. We've covered everything from simple pebble mosaics you can make in an afternoon to a magnificent stone arch that could last for generations. The real beauty of working with stone is that it's so versatile. Whether your style is modern, rustic, or somewhere in between, there is a project here for you. It's a chance to get your hands dirty, be creative, and make a lasting improvement to your home with one of the most timeless materials on earth. Remember, the goal is to create a space that you absolutely love, a space that welcomes you home every single day. Start small with a stepping stone or some garden edging. Build your confidence, and just see where your creativity takes you. Which of these projects are you most excited to try? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear what you're planning for your own curb appeal makeover. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more projects to help you create a home you love. Now, go get started.